What is going on, everybody? Brickbuilder here, and welcome to a brand new Fortnite Battle Royale video. In today's video, I'm playing some squads. Now, you cannot hear any of the gameplay. I'm going to do a post commentary over this, kind of talking some strategy and just generally help you guys how to win more games. For clarification, the people on my squad here are all players I met through a random queue. I didn't know these people previously, and we still managed to do really well. This is one of our first games we played together, and they are absolutely good players at the game, as well as I'd like to think myself as an above average player. And we just overall hit it off really well with doing a lot of things right. And I feel like this is why this is a good gameplay for post commentary, is I'm going to accurately be able to help you guys learn some things to do to win more games and just some tips and tricks and all that stuff. So if you guys do enjoy and want to see more Fortnite post commentaries, let me know by leaving a like and subscribing if you're new and tapping the bell so you never miss a daily gaming video. But let's get right into it. We decided we're going to land Fatal Fields. Reason for this is pretty simple. We haven't really played much together. I'm pretty sure this was our second game we've ever played together. And because of that, we don't know each other's playstyles all that well. So when you're playing with someone who you don't play with frequently, it's smart to go places where there won't be as many people right off the bat. For instance, we would have went somewhere like Tilted Towers. There's a much better chance of us dying right off the bat just because we don't know how each other plays. See, now thankfully right there, he got the kill, so I didn't die. That was good. That was good teamwork. We did, of course, discuss the fact they're there. And, it's definitely important when you're playing a team-based game to have good communication. And honestly, that's one of the reasons this squad worked out so well, is everybody in here had microphones and they were talking and we were engaging and we were just really, really good at communication. It was definitely important. Like even little things like I needing a weapon and they giving me a weapon and all that stuff, just every little bits and bobs there definitely helps you as far as getting more wins is concerned. So make an effort to try to talk to your teammates, whether it's about the game or just something entirely unrelated, whether it's other Fortnite streamers or favorite weapons, just anything to break the the ice, you know what I mean, type thing. You just want to start communicating with your team and getting them used to talking to each other, and realistically is probably going to help you win a lot more games. And also, who knows, you might make some new friends out of it. You never really know. And here I am, I take some weapons and stuff because I still don't really have many weapons. I mean, I still don't have anything too great in my inventory because I don't have any rounds in that bolt. But we should be able to make something happen here because we have teammates who know what they're doing and we're communicating. And they all know I don't have the best of stuff, so they're kind of helping in that regard. But we're still going to, possibly be able to pull something off. And I'm just farming up a little bit of mats. I still need a lot more of mats, though, to be honest. That's another thing, though, is when you're playing squads, like, it's too early for me to ask people for mats or ammo and stuff because no one really has stuff to spare. That's another thing I notice a lot of people doing wrong when they queue up with random people, and it gives off a really bad impression. Don't ask for things super early on in the game that you want because they don't have to give you. You're just going to seem like a needy player and a player that, wants everything and that you want to be like, quote unquote, the tank or have all the stuff. And that's just not the kind of person most people want to play Fortnite with. So it makes a lot more sense to early up here just loot, not really do too much like asking for mats or asking for ammo because we really haven't finished looting yet and no one really has any kills or like enough kills that actually have, items in them. So there's not really much stuff to split yet. So I'm just trying to farm up myself, get some mats, collect any ammo from ammo boxes and things like that. Now, obviously, if there is something you need, like for instance here, how I needed shield and someone had an extra big shield, they did toss that over to me because, that's the thing they did because they had extra. But like, for instance, the sniper rounds, people aren't going to have extra sniper rounds this early on. So I'm not really going to ask for them just because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now. Like splitting 3 of those rounds is not going to give anything, especially when they also might have a sniper or something. So I'm going to wait a little bit later before I ask for things. And the teammates will usually do the same. Now, if your teammates start asking for things super early on, then I would say you can go ahead and do it too. But it's just a good thing, in my opinion, for like impressions of you and such for Fortnite when you're playing with random duos or squads or whatever. I think it's really, really like a tip a lot of people don't take into account. And I feel like you definitely should because you can really, really, really benefit by doing little small things like that. Just like learning how people play with their play styles and stuff is also huge. So for instance, I like to ask people like what's their favorite weapon early on, because if someone says a sniper, they're usually pretty good with a sniper. Or if someone says a particular weapon, like for instance, I told these people I really like the drum gun because I'm trying to get really good at switching the shotgun over to the drum gun after, like using the 2 weapons to kill people faster. So by doing that, my teammates know I like drum guns, and if they get one, they may be inclined to give it to me by doing little conversation like that, you can really learn each other's play styles as far as what kit you each prefer. And that is definitely valuable information to have. You have such a better chance of winning games if you know who's good at what and giving them what they're good at. For instance, there's some players who are garbage with snipers, but if I have a sniper and no one on my team says they're good with snipers, but one of them actually is, I would never know. And that could be the reason we lose games. You know what I mean? It just makes a whole lot of sense to kind of learn a bit about the play styles of your team, as well as like, you know, who's going to hold jump pads, all this stuff like that. And it's just important overall. Another thing that I like to try to do, and I see a lot of the professional teams do this, and a lot of the professional teams have it in a different case, but I see a lot of players trying to do the same thing. Professional teams usually have a captain who make call outs consistently, and that makes sense. Like, oh, we're gonna do this 100% for sure, and this is what we're going for. Competitive, because you know they're like quote unquote like the leader, and there's money on the line, and there's a coach and all this other stuff. But for when you're playing random duos and squads, don't be making all the calls. Like, ask people what they think you should be doing and stuff. And now, if they let you make all the calls, that's one thing. But you should give your teammates the option of choosing where you rotate to, or like stuff like that. It just makes a lot more sense, and it honestly makes you a lot more fun to play with. And that's definitely a huge element, because that's how you're going to make friends when you random queue and duo and all that other stuff. You want, you know, to win games, but you also want to have fun with the people. And everybody in the group will have a lot more fun if you're letting everybody make callouts relatively equally. Unless they dictate someone as like, hey, who should be captain? Then you can go ahead and do that. But unless that happens, don't really like take priority over people's callouts. Even if you have way more wins than someone, it's way more important to have fun than to get that win. You know what I mean? So even if you have 1,000 wins, the other person has 0, just let them make a call out every once in a while, and boom, it'd be a lot more fun. Plus, it's just more entertaining for both parties involved, in my perspective. So I would strongly suggest things like that. Like, that's just, you're gonna have a lot more fun that way. And then again, here, call outs are really good, and there's loot on the ground. I do ask if I can have some of the loot, and they say totally cool with it, because, you know, again, we're relatively early on here, so I still don't have the best of loot, you know, so I'm just trying to ask for whatever and just try to take some, you know, stuff in the grand scheme of things. And here's the little drum gun thing. See, they knew I like a drum gun, so they tossed me one. Definitely awesome teammates. Now, don't get upset if someone says they want to keep something they get. Like, for instance, if you say you're really good with legendary scars and someone gets a scar right off the bat, they might not be inclined to give you a scar right off the bat, if that makes sense. Now, also, we've gotten to the point where I can comfortably ask my teammates for ammo and stuff, as you can see there by the fact that I have like 200, you know, they had just dropped an extra 200 AR ammo and stuff. So once it gets to a point, don't be afraid to ask for things at all. Like, totally. It's always better to, I guess, ask and be rejected than never ask at all. So there's that. But we are getting a little late game. I don't have many kills or any kills yet, but, you know, we're still warming up to people. We're still talking, and I can get kills throughout the game, obviously. So I'm not really too concerned by the fact that I don't have any kills right now, because our team has a few kills right now, which is good enough. And again, farming up some mats right now, because I never know when either I'm going to run out of mats, I'm going to need more, or someone from my team is going to ask for a little bit of mats, because I do have max wood. So if someone wants to ask and be like, yo, Brick, do you have any mats? I can give them, you know, 300 wood and not be at like a loss. So that's definitely a huge thing to keep in mind, is you just want to get some extra gear, even if you don't need it, so that way your teammates can have it. It's also like, whenever you run by loot piles, call out the good things in the loot pile that someone might need. For instance, even though I have a bolt sniper, if I ran past a bolt sniper, I would call it out. Like, for instance, there, I did say anybody need a green AR, a blue burst, or whatever those weapons were on the ground. Because if someone on my team needed those, if I didn't say it, they wouldn't know they were there. And it's definitely beneficial for my teammates to have the best kits they can and what weapons they like and such. That's just going to help a ton with getting more wins. And it's just going to be a lot more fun in the grand scheme of things. So calling out your weapons is definitely huge. And that's just a pretty good pointer. And I think most people do that already. But if you don't, you should probably start, because it will definitely help. And now here we go with the fight. I do take a snipe. It doesn't really land, but it's just enough, you know, just enough to make a difference. Now, also, the entire team, we did decide to go defaults this game. You don't have to do that. That's just a thing we did. The first game, we were all whatever, different skins. We were like, for the second one, let's just go defaults. Why not? So we did that. And we're going in for the fight. I see I'm taking a ton of damage, so build up a little bit. My teammates know, because I alert them, oh, I got hit, blah, 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 lasered, whatever. You know, whatever terminology you want to use to say you're low. But even though I'm low, I'm still going to go in for the thirst here, because it's really all I can do. I can't do anything super aggressive because I don't have a ton of health, but I'm going to do it anyway because my teammates are there. But if I didn't have my teammates, I probably wouldn't have played as aggressively. You also have to factor in the fact that even though one of our teammates is knocked, we're picking him up right off the bat. That's definitely important. Like, you can go for a little bit of looting, and that's fine, but don't take all the stuff before the person's picked up. That's just kind of rude and not really all that fun in the grand scheme of things. So try to get your teammates up if they get knocked, you know. And yeah, if you're low on health for your squad, it's probably most beneficial that you either, like, discuss what your strategy should be. Like, for instance, we were talking about how I'll be like, I'm going to go thirst him because if I, like, the guy's already knocked, so I can BM him without there really being, like, a problem with me dying there. Whereas if I was to run it on the fight, there is a chance I could die. Now, I did run it on the fight there after I knocked him and we were okay, but it's just smarter to not really take the risk unless you have to, if that makes sense. Now, another thing I like to do to keep the pacing up when we play these games is I do like to point out how many players are left alive. I know for some people that's not a good thing, but for me personally, I think that calling out how many players are left alive help with knowing you, like, how you're doing so far as gear goes and how close you are to end game. Now, we are fighting a squad currently. I am very low on health, but I did tell everybody that there's a squad, and they're all heading over to help me and all that good stuff, which is definitely much appreciated that you're doing things like that. I get one knock right there. Definitely useful to try to knock one or two of them before they can even push up. That's just a general gameplay tip, is when you're going against multiple people, even taking one or two of them out to stall them a little bit and slow them down is definitely good. Because the big thing here is that they would have kept pushing super aggressive, they would have won this. But because of the fact of how slow they were actually, like, aggressing towards us, it gave us such an advantage, because as they're running towards us, we can just take pot shots and knock two or three of them before they can even do anything. And that really, really made an impact there. Because if you and your team are just, like, going for, like, little peck shots, boom, you're good. And we discussed that with this team. Like, I definitely called out that as something that we should focus on, because it just makes a lot more sense. Again, right there, got called out for the med kit. I took it and everything. It was great. Worked perfectly there. Good teammates calling things out when they have med kits and healing and all that stuff in their inventory. Definitely useful. But again, discussing team strategy, either as you're just running around or as you're actually engaging in a fight, is important. It's the same way that when you play a sport, you discuss what the play is going to be. You do the same thing in Fortnite, except a little more real time than with sports where it's like, you know, in the, I don't know, timeouts or whatever you want to call it. But, and again, there, I had some extra, you know, shields. So I'm going to drop them on the ground and help out my team. It just makes a lot of sense. You know, I want my teammates to, again, have the best kit they can possibly have. So that way we can have a much better increased chance of winning the game. Obviously, it just makes the most sense. But there's only 12 people left. I've definitely called that out by now, because I do like to call out things like that again for pacing. So there's 8 people left, which is pretty cool. Checking for jump pads or bouncers or anything, and we have bouncers, so that'll work. But again, we're going to get out of divot. I'm pretty sure one of them made this call out that we should leave divot, and I honestly agree with them 100%. So, we discussed that call out and we just left, and there we go. Perfect. Because again, discussion is huge. The most important thing for teams is not even individual skill, but it's how well you can work together in teamwork, I think. That's why a lot of the pros in these tournaments, it really doesn't matter who they play with. Like, they don't have to practice with these people a ton, because communication is the big thing. Now, obviously, there are clear advantages of people where the more they talk to the person and get to know them and know their play style, there are definitely advantages in that. But at the same time, there's people winning a ton of these pro tournaments where they're getting, you know, tens of thousands of dollars without even, like, playing with the person for more than maybe 10 hours at a time. And that's pretty good, considering that, like, you know, most, like, professional teams would practice for hours and hours and hours, like tens of hundreds of hours and whatever. But it's just not essential with, if you can have good communication. And that definitely applies even when you're doing random duos and squads and stuff. Like, any form of communication can help. Also here, we had planned the snipe. We had planned the initial snipe where it was like, I'm going to snipe in 3, 2, 1. And then I did it. And then they started shooting. Now, unfortunately, we didn't really do anything there. But then I got the knock right after, which worked good, because I was like, I'm going to go again. And my team just trusted the instinct, you know what I mean? Where I was like, I'm going to hit the next one. And they were okay with that. And that's what we went for. And it worked. So that's good. We got the headshot. We knocked one. And again, we're doing the same thing here, where now we're pushing towards them very aggressively. They pushed, the last team in divot pushed us really, really slowly, and it cost them. So we were not going to make that mistake with this duo here. We were going to go super aggressive, pull those kills. And it, you know, that was definitely like a strategy of ours, because we realized that that's the best way for our squad to engage fights, is going to be super aggressive. Because if we can handle against people who are running not aggressively, we should probably be playing very aggressive. And it makes the most sense. We're also checking kills throughout, just because that's like a nice little pick-me-up to people, is like, discussing kills. Now, obviously, if someone has 0 kills, don't really point that out. That's not a pick-me-up. But when you're like, hey guys, we have 18 kills as a squad, or we have 6 kills as a squad, or wow, look at you, you're going off. You have 4 kills from that whole squad. You killed that whole squad. Wow. Or things like that. Little pick-me-ups and like good kill or good snipe or stuff like that are definitely helpful. And any sort of positive like re-encouragement, I guess, is a good thing. As long as you're not doing it in a way where it's like sarcastically like good snipe when they miss. You know what I mean? You could do that as a joke if that's how the dynamic is for the group. But good positive like reinforcement is always nice, and it definitely helps your team do better because positivity's power. And literally like it's like a little subconscious thing, but it definitely helps with like teamwork and effort and stuff like that. And you can see it's so apparent that that definitely helps, because by doing that you'll see it yourself. You'll see a difference in games once you do it. Okay, like just call out good kills and all that other stuff whenever they happen. And now we see the final people fighting, so obviously we're going to play our aggressive push-up strat that we usually do, because it's just the one that our squad works for. Like we've learned from the game before that that's how it works best for us, and that's just the strategy that works for us. So it's what we're going to go for here. We're going to push relatively aggressively. We're not going as aggressive as we could, because we know that this is essentially the winning fight here, the win or loss fight, and we want to win it. But we're making the call outs, and there we go. We're kind of like breaking down building a bunch and such. Now we see the rockets, we're calling out rockets where they're going to go towards and stuff, because that's another important thing. You know, we want people to be aware on the team that there are rockets in play right now and such. And okay, this person's up here, and I say that and I knock one and they go good kill or good knock or whatever you want to call, just for that little positive reinforcement, which gives me like the power to push here without really thinking too much. And yeah, I get super low, but it's okay. I just mini up, no problem. My teammates know. I just tell them I'm gonna mini, and that good communication towards the end is definitely important. Trying to do a little bit of drum gun damage on that structure. But as you can see, we're actually doing really, really well here, pushing up and just being a team overall. And we're about to see how the ending of this fight is gonna go. There's one guy left, and boom, we get him and we win the game. If you guys did enjoy, like and subscribe.